All right, everybody, welcome back to Casting Lots Board Gaming. Today we're going to be doing an overview of Mage Knight. Now this is the Ultimate Edition. There is a smaller box, which I have right here. There is a smaller box, so if you are just getting into Mage Knight, this was actually the first box I got. And then I really liked the game, so I went ahead and got the Ultimate Edition, which comes with a lot more. It comes with, 3 different expansions, and then it comes with some promo cards. But as you can see, here's a typical layout of your game of Mage Knight. There's a lot going on here, and this is a notoriously difficult game to learn. I had the privilege of learning this one for basically my first complex board game. It was one of my first purchases when I first got into this hobby. So that was kind of fun, going from things like, Monopoly and Risk and Phase 10 and, your basic card games and Battleship. And all of a sudden going into something like this, because Mage Knight is it's a very complex game. So we're going to start off with quality. There's there's various different components for the game. You have cards, which the card quality is excellent. It's not papery cards, which I really like. Which I've said before, you guys know I do not like papery cards. They tend to come apart at the corners and have various quality problems throughout the lifetime of the cards. So all the cards are really high quality. You got these cool little dice, which they're kind of small, but they work. You're not rolling them a lot. Basically, on the beginning of the round, you'll roll and you set them over here, and then that just gives you different mana colors to use throughout your turn. So the boards here, they're all, they're random boards, so you'll have, different locations that are listed on these boards. And the boards are good quality as well. It's not, it's not a paper. It's actually like a thick cardboard material, which is nice. And again, quality is fantastic in this. Really good. They got the little plastic, the different color mana tokens that'll represent the different colors that you can use on your turn to do various actions and things. So component quality is really good. So let's move on to complexity, which is going to be a fun one for Mage Knight. So Mage Knight, like I said, is notoriously difficult to learn and to teach. I think it's probably harder to teach than it was for me to learn, because you've got so many things going on. So you got a good-sized rule book here. This rule book is 23 pages long. So with the Ultimate Edition, you get the base rule book, and then you get the expansion rule books. And then you have a game walkthrough, which I guess that would technically be part of the rule book. But it guides you through your first game, which is helpful. I definitely did this when I first started. It gives you a different setup options, and then it explains. It's very good. It's a very well-written rule book. So it goes over all the different cards that you might see, the different tokens you might see. So I definitely recommend taking a look at the game walkthrough when you first pick up this game, because it does help a lot. And like I said, it guides you through your first game. So complexity, though, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, you have your map tile here, and on the map tile, you have different enemy tokens, or, you have over here is a keep token. So for different locations, you'll lay down different tokens, and these are all randomized. So not on the table, actually still in the box, is all this stuff here. So you have all these different tokens here. These are going to represent those enemies and things that I just showed you. There's different colors for different places, and all that will be explained in the rule book. You have all the little tokens here for keeping track of your score on the scoreboard and for locations that you've conquered. You have your adventuring sites here, which is another token that you'll be laying on the board. And then you have all your extra mana tokens here. And the game comes with all these different player decks. So you have this is my personal favorite here. His name is Norwas. So this guy is my favorite to play with. But in the game, you'll get all these cool pre-painted miniatures, and then you'll have the city pieces as well. So they're really good quality. They're great. They're already painted. You don't have to worry about painting anything. And then, you got your different colored cities, the white, green, blue, and red cities. And what's cool about these is they have I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called clicks or something like that. So it's hard to see, but at the bottom of the piece here, it spins and it changes. If you want to play a more difficult city or a easier city, you can adjust that according to your play style to get a varying difficulty level, which is nice because it definitely caters to someone who's just learning all the way up to a veteran. So lots of stuff going on though, very complex. You have all these different things you can add into your deck. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. You have each character has their own starting deck of these cards here, and these are different actions and abilities and things you can do. So on your turn, you can move, you can use influence to hire different, to hire people, units to help you, attack, block, more move, crystallize. You got all these different things that do various things. You got your red cards, which are typically more for like attacking and blocking and things. Your green cards are for a lot of healing and a lot of movement. So there's all these different colors, and each one of these colors, like the green here, corresponds to the green on the mana die. So you'd be able to use that, or the green if you have a green mana token. So all those correspond to various actions and abilities you can use, but you start out with a basic deck. And as you go along, you may be able to acquire the advanced actions. So you'll get these in the advanced actions deck. And normally there's an offer laid out, which will be over next to the advanced actions deck. And these are the ones you can choose from. So when you gain a level, sometimes you'll be able to actually choose one of these advanced action cards, add it into your deck. And then the next time you shuffle, which is at the end of the round, you'll be able to add those into your deck and use those on the next round. So you will also be able to gather all these cool spells. And the spells, if you notice here, also have the colors on them corresponding to what colors that you'll be able to do. So you'll have to pay a red to use this fire block. If you want to use the more powerful version, which is the exploding shield, you'll have to pay a red and a black. So the different costs for the mana, for the spells and things. And through your adventures, you might also find some artifacts, which are very powerful items that you can add, again, cards that you can add into your deck. And these, what's cool about artifacts is they have a top action, which is you can use it and then you can put it back into your discard pile and you'll still have it. If you use the bottom action, you can use it as a very powerful one-time action that actually it goes away. So once you use that bottom action, that actually goes away and it's out of the game. So you can choose there. It makes a little bit of choice that you want to sacrifice this card for a one-time powerful ability, or do you want to use the weaker ability and use it multiple times? So there's a big deck of wound cards. As you play and you participate in battles with various monsters and things, you will take wounds, and these wounds go into your deck. So as you can see, you have your deck. So as your deck starts getting wound cards added into it, you might draw a hand of cards and you got a wound in there. So that's going to reduce the amount of cards that you're able to use in your hand because you have this wound. So that's something that you want to pay attention to as well. Try to keep those wound cards out, but don't be scared to use wound cards. And that's something that took me a while to learn, or not use, but take wound cards. Don't be scared to take wound cards. That's something that I learned after a while, because sometimes the risk is worth the reward. You might get a really cool artifact or a really cool item. You might take a couple of wounds in that battle, but you can heal up later and you can get back in the fight. But now you have a really cool ability that you have in your deck that you can use for later. There is a nice tracker here for the score. So you have reputation here, and this is going to affect the price, the influence that you pay for recruiting units, which I'll talk about in a second. So this one, as you go into the higher reputation, people like you. So it gives you +1 or +2 or +3 and +5 all the way down here for, to go towards your influence. So if you only have 3 influence, but you have a +3 on the reputation, you're going to be able to spend 6 influence. So that's always a good thing. And it also works in the negative. If you go down here and people do not like you because you're conquering, mage towers and monasteries and pillaging towns and nobody likes you, you'll have a negative. So if you have 5 and you have a -2 here, you're only going to have 3 to spend. So it can influence you in both directions. And then the score chart here, you start at 0 and you work your way through. Each time you move down to the next level, you'll get new abilities and things like that. Like this one's going to give you a skill, which are these little skill tokens that are unique to each player. And then you move down to this one and you actually get another command token, which allows you to hire more of these guys. So the units are really cool because these are basically guys that fight for you. So they'll go down on your board in front of you as you hire them. And these guys will be able to do various things. So the scouts here have a siege attack of 1, so that'll be useful getting through, like castles and things like that that are resistant to ranged attacks. So you have all these options that you can use on that, and when you use it, you'll actually put your token over it to denote that it was used for that round, and you won't be able to use it again until you refresh that unit. So some of these unit cards are really neat. They have really good attacks and things like that. You can also add a wound onto your unit cards and use them as a defense, which is cool because it keeps the wound cards out of your deck. And then up here in the top left, we have the price for this unit. So this one would cost 7 influence. And then you have 2 different kinds of units. You got your basic units, which are the grayback, and you have your advanced units. I think that's what they're called. And that's the goldbacks. So these are expensive. As you can see here, we got some 9 cost fire mages. And these guys are awesome. You'll be able to use all these cool abilities. The sorcerers, the Amotep gunners, ice golems, more sorcerers, Altem guardians. So there's all these really neat cards that once you are able, which I think it is once you get a monastery unlocked on the board, you start putting, I think that's what it is. You start putting in the advanced units along with the regular units into the offer, which is called the units offer. So each turn there's going to be some of these out. You'll be able to purchase them if you want. Okay, so complexity, yeah, very high. It's something that you got to give yourself time to learn because it is difficult to learn. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to want to quit, but it's super worth it if you learn this game. It is a fantastic game. It's very well balanced. So replayability. I would call it high to very high, one of those, because there's so many variable things. You could choose a different character. Each time you play, these are going to be shuffled, and there's going to be all different advanced actions. There's going to be different artifacts that you're going to get. You're going to be able to get different spells. There's going to be different units out. They're going to have a different map layout, because every time you play this, it's going to be random. So there is so much replayability in this, and that's why this has been a popular game for 10, 15 plus years. It's been a top of the charts game. If you look on Board Game Geek, this has an extremely high rating, and a lot of people talk good about Mage Knight. It's a fantastic game, and the guy that made it, which I never know how to say his name right, Vlada Chivatal, I think is, if I'm saying it right. But he's made some other stuff, and the guy is an absolute genius. He knows what he's doing with board game design. So replayability is high. It's one that's going to be in your collection for a while. Rating, I would give it a PG rating. I guess we can call it that. There's nothing, there's no sexual stuff or anything like that. And, very rarely do you have sexual stuff in a board game. But I give it PG because of the fact that there are some cards with some, might be a little scary looking to some younger players. So we got Threaten here, which is basically a guy holding a knife to somebody's throat. So some, they're not crazy. Some of these, I'm trying to think. So, like I showed you before, you have some sorcerers and fire mages and things like that. So again, like we talked about last time, this doesn't mean this is just a game, but I would say, some of it, the rating, when I say a rating, I don't necessarily, that's kind of separate from complexity. I mean, you're going to have a hard time teaching this to a 10-year-old kid, unless they're just an absolute genius. But it's something that it's very complex, so it's going to be hard to teach. So, that doesn't really come into play on the rating, but that's something to keep in mind. You want to look at the fact that there are some I would call maybe scary images on some of these, like this guy here. They're not too bad. So you got blood ritual, but these aren't super crazy. You just, when you look at these cards, you're looking at the cool effect, and you go, okay, cool. I'm going to play that or whatever. So it's not a bunch of crazy stuff. This is, I would say it's safe for most ages. It's just a complexity. It's a complexity situation. Okay, so moving on from the rating, I would give this thing a score of, I'm going to give it an 8.5. And I know I talked about last time when I reviewed, what was it that I reviewed last time? No, I can't even remember now. I did a review of 51st State, and I called it a 9. I think that it just requires an absolute gem to call it a perfect 10. So the 9 on 51st State is well deserved. The reason why I didn't give this a 9, it is a fantastic game. I love the game. I've had a lot of fun with it. But the reason why I'm going to go 8.5 instead of 9 is because it's something that, when I sit down and play a game, sometimes I want to sit down and play something that's not as complex. Maybe I've had a hard day at work and I want to sit down and I want to play something and just have fun and enjoy myself playing. So this, you can do that here, but there's a lot of complexity going on. So you're going to be you're going to be mentally tired after playing this game. This is the board game equivalent of an AP calculus class. And it's not to say that there's lots of complex mathematical equations going on. It's just, it's very thinky. You're going to be doing a lot of thinking. This game causes analysis paralysis worse than anything else I have ever seen. Because you'll have a player sitting there and they're looking at their cards and they're going, okay, what am I going to play? And then they start like, okay, I think I can do this and then this. Wait, no. I think I'm going to do this. No, I'm going to do that. And you have this situation where your brain is working harder than a quantum processing computer trying to figure out what you're going to do on your turn. And that's not always what I'm looking for after a hard day of work or whatever, and I want to just sit down and have some fun playing a game. So that's not to say it's not rewarding. It's like for you video gamers that Dark Souls or Elden Ring. They're hard, but it's rewarding. Once when you beat that, big castle, or you take that city in Mage Knight that is, you had to go through 7 or 8, 10 cards in your hand, and you're using skills and you're using mana and you're doing this, and you figure it out and you get that laid out perfect where you're able to take that city and beat the game. It's very rewarding. It's a super rewarding experience. But again, that's why I didn't give it a 9, is because I think that's a turnoff to some people. The complexity is a turnoff to some people, especially a complexity on this scale. It is difficult, but again, I think it's very worth it. So I'm going to give Mage Knight Ultimate Edition an 8 out of 5. And this has been another board game overview by Casting Lots Board Gaming. We'll see you next time, and God bless. So I just noticed I made a funny mistake. So I said we're going to give Mage Knight Ultimate Edition an 8 out of 5. Which, after just talking about a complex game that I called the board game equivalent of AP Calculus, I thought it was kind of funny that I gave it an 8 out of 5. So 8.5 out of 10 is the rating that we're going to give Mage Knight. Again, thank you for watching. I'm really enjoying doing these videos. I just wanted to kind of share that funny little situation and talk to you guys for a couple of minutes. But I do appreciate, I know not everyone is into board games. And Mage Knight is not the one to try to get them into board games. That's the wrong that's the wrong route when you're trying to get someone into board games. But I definitely feel like that. I think everyone is capable of getting into this hobby. I feel like there's a lot of folks that have they have a stereotype in their head of, they think of board games and they automatically think of like a bunch of nerds dressed up in wizard hats with their wands, and they're going, okay, and they're rolling their dice but I feel like that's the stereotype that people who are non-board gamers or who play the old style stuff. But I feel like if you are a fan of these complex board games, which a lot of people are, it's becoming more popular than it used to be. I know it's definitely gaining popularity. It kind of faded out for a while, and I'm happy to see it coming back in popularity again. But if you know people, or you're around people, family or whatever, that you're trying to get into something, or that you're trying to get them a little more interested in this, just be patient, because like I said, it's a stereotype that they have in their head of something. It's like, I play golf, and it's when you talk to people about golf, you either have one of two responses. You have people that look at you like you're stupid, golf, and then you have people that play golf that are like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great, man, I play too, So you kind of have the same thing with these board games. You have people that go, oh yeah, we enjoy board games too. We should get together and play sometime. Or you have the response of, oh, board games, what a nerd. And I feel like it's just people out of ignorance, not knowing, and I'm not calling them ignorant, but out of ignorance to the hobby, they don't know how much fun there is to be had with these board games. There's a lot of fun. I mean, I've had countless hours and a lot of fun with these things and made new friends. We get together with the church, and we haven't done it recently, but get together with the church and have our board game group up there or here, and we have a lot of fun. There's a lot of fellowship to be had, and get some snacks and some some drinks and play some board games, spend a couple hours just hanging out, and it's a lot of fun to be had. So I would encourage you to do what you can to be patient, but try to get people into the hobby. Maybe start with some lower complexity things and work your way in. Because not everybody's going to be interested in the exact same things. So get with your group or a group you're trying to put together. Start with something small. Have some fun, enjoy playing some games, and then maybe move on from there. Maybe say, hey, I got another one for you. I'd like you guys to try this one, and move on from there. But again, this is Casting Lots Board Gaming. I just wanted to share a couple of things with you guys. But have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.